Previously on Invincible, we were introduced to Mark Grayson, the teenage son of Nolan Grayson, aka the hero Omni-Man, emissary of the planet Viltrum, and an Earthwoman named Debbie Grayson.
Mark has just come into his superpowers and has dubbed himself Invincible. He would go on to encounter a teenage group of superheroes called the Teen Team, consisting of Mark's classmate Samantha Eve Wilkins, aka Adam Eve, Robot, Duplicate, and Eve's supposed boyfriend, Rexplode.
I know there's a lot more to members of the Teen Team, particularly Robot, but we're not at that point in the story yet, so I'm not going to bring it up at this point.
Mark would work with the Teen Team to track down a person who was turning his more problematic schoolmates into living bombs. Even Mark would eventually discover that their science teacher was behind all the abductions. Afterwards, Mark would have a few father-son adventures with Omni-Man.
Boy, I sure hope that nothing has come out since my review of Volume 1 that might spoil the big twist that happens in Volume 2, which is what we're covering today. This is Invincible, Volume 2, 8 is Enough.
Mark is doing homework when he gets a call from Omni-Man to go into space to take on a recurring threat, and to also see if Debbie can grill up some steaks for dinner. Mark suits up and prepares to test his lung capacity as he blasts off. Soon he's duking it out with a telepathic alien being. The fight is evenly matched, causing Mark to question what exactly is going on, and the alien, whose name is Alan, yes, Alan the alien, reveals that he's an evaluation specialist from the Coalition of Planets sent to scout the planet to meet the adequate defense standards expected for the evolutionary path of the planet Uroth at this point. Mark points out the obvious that this is Earth and not Uroth, and that Alan has been scouting the wrong planet for the last 20 years. Oops. Alan goes back to the Coalition to hopefully spare his job, while Mark returns home to his parents to fill them in on what happened, and his story greatly surprises Omni-Man, who's just been fighting without asking the entire time. Mark is so tired that he really just wants to hit the hay. Unfortunately, he still needs to finish his homework.
Alan the alien does wind up returning in later volumes to play a major role in the story. So at least we get a new character to talk about here.
Omni-Man and Invincible play a game of catch around the world. Quite literally, they stand back to back and throw the ball the long way around. And Nolan has been very pleased with Mark's progress, but he still has some concerns.
Okay, so if you don't recall, in the previous volume, there was kind of a mini plot where Omni-Man and Invincible were fighting alongside each other, and Omni-Man was suddenly sucked into a parallel universe via a portal that popped up, and well, when that happened, Mark inadvertently called out Dad, and now that Nolan has come back, he's concerned that this relationship might be exploited by Omni-Man's villains.
It's not that Mark necessarily did anything wrong, it's just that maybe he needs to think things through sometimes. Now, though, he needs to back up as he and his friend William Clockwell are taking a tour of a local university. He leaves, meaning that while the boys are away, the parents get to play. Meanwhile, Robot has called together the Teen Team at their headquarters for a major announcement. He's been invited to join the Guardians of the Globe, and because of that, he's disbanding the team, though they can still make use of the facilities if needed.
Obviously, the Guardians of the Globe are the Justice League of the Invincible series, with heroes analogous to Shazam in the form of the Immortal, Wonder Woman in the form of War Woman, and Aquaman in the form of a human fish monster called Aquarius. And there are others down the line as well. Now, the spot on the team recently opened up after a hero known as Black Samson had his power armor malfunction, and, well, Samson is having a hard time dealing with the fact that he reluctantly had to step away from the team.
At Upstate University, Mark and William get a tour of the grounds, with William on the verge of snapping at people who keep calling him Will or Bill, as he prefers to go by his full first name. All of that gets interrupted by a large armored being attacking the campus for some reason, and Mark slips away to change into his Invincible getup and take down the creature, which blows up. However, William has managed to piece together everything pretty quickly, and he promises to keep things a secret, but at some point, Mark owes him a flight. The two return home, and Mark quickly catches on to what his parents have been doing while he was away, as he notices his mother's shirt was on inside out. The awkwardness is short-lived, though, as Omni-Man is contracted by Artie Rosenbaum, tailor to the heroes of Earth. Artie was working on the armor of Black Samson to see if he could try to get it working again, only for someone to break in and steal it. The important thing is that the armor was the only thing stolen, meaning it was specifically targeted. Later that night, Mark receives a visit from a devastated Adam Eve. Earlier that evening, she went to the Teen Team headquarters to get something, only to find Rexplode fooling around with Duplicate, 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 and Duplicate. Needing someone to talk to, Eve collapses into Mark's arms just as Debbie walks into the room, leading to a very long and uncomfortable talk about sexual responsibility. The next day, the Guardians of the Globe members, save for Robot, are summoned to their cavernous headquarters in Utah. The Immortal is the last to arrive, and no one has any idea as to who or what called them in. Before anything else can happen, something or someone begins brutally slaughtering the group of superheroes. The only one with the ability to catch the perpetrator is the Immortal, who recognizes the individual, stating that he never trusted them. Omni-Man points out that the feeling was more than mutual as he then decapitates the Immortal.
That part was probably a real big shock to you. Unless you've seen the first episode of the Amazon Prime animated series.
Word gets out about the murder of the Guardians of the Globe. The person who committed the act remains unknown. Right now, the main focus is on Black Samson, with many theorizing this was an attempt to be readmitted. This leads to a very awkward funeral, where things get even stranger as two longtime foes of the Guardians, the Mauler twins, show up to pay their respects. However, the twins manage to remain quite well-mannered, as it turns out the one who violently interrupts Omni-Man's eulogy is none other than Black Samson's butler, Sanford. It turns out that Sanford was the one who broke into Rosenbaum's tailor shop to steal the power armor. The butler blames the Guardians of the Globe for kicking Black Samson out and driving him into a deep depression. Invincible, Omni-Man, and several other heroes take Sanford down with relative ease, and the disgruntled indentured servant is now the one being blamed for the deaths of the Guardians of the Globe.
Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that there were several other Image Comics superheroes that appeared at this funeral. Most notably, Savage Dragon, Super Patriot, Shadowhawk, and, Charlie Brown, apparently.
Mark heads back to school and talks with Eve, who after the incident with Mark's mother points out that she's not ready for a relationship, she just needs a friend right now. That being said, things do begin to look up for Mark as a woman named Amber slips him a love note in the hallway.
If any of you out there are expecting me to go on some big tirade about the fact that they changed Amber's race for the Amazon Prime animated series, fuck you!
That night, William stops by the Grayson home to get his promised flight from Mark, which leads to a moment that really has not aged very well in the last 20 years. As that plays out, two grave robbers hit up the Immortal's grave. Legend has it that if you drink from the Immortal's skull, you gain his abilities. The two amateur thieves are not the only ones interested in the cranial slurpage, though, as the Mauler twins pop up to claim the skull for their own. However, no one is going to get any skull to skull around with, as it turns out the name the Immortal isn't just a clever moniker created for branding purposes.
And that concludes our look at Invincible, Volume 2, 8 is Enough. Now, I'm sorry I didn't have much in the way of background information and stuff like that for this episode. It's just that, well, I covered that in the first volume, and, well, there's just not much to add here, unfortunately, outside of the fact that about partway through this volume, the original artist, Cory Walker, got replaced by Ryan Ottley, and that was because Walker had some problems meeting deadlines, and sometimes that would lead to a very rushed look and the characters all having Tintin eyes for some reason. And if you recall in my review of Volume 1, that was a problem I had with it. And now that Ottley is on board, it seems we're getting away from that, and the book does have a much more consistent look and feel. That is definitely a plus. Also, I do like a lot of the humor in this, a lot of the down slice of life stories, down to earth slice of life stories, that is. And again, it's overall very enjoyable. That being said, it is kind of fillery in some aspects, and not only that, but also padded out. I mean, you would think the big reveal of Omni-Man killing the Guardians of the Globe would be this big cliffhanger thing to end this volume on, except that happened in issue 7, and if you do that, you can't call this 8 is Enough. They had to end on issue 8 so they could do the cutesy sitcom reference. And yeah, that just results in a weird, clunky issue that just doesn't feel quite right. So yeah, I know that's a weird thing to say, and maybe it's a little nitpicky, but yeah, it's just a little bit weird. I mean, I almost wish they had just ended on issue 7 and called this thing Seventh Heaven or something like that, though. Well, that title would also have its own baggage in a few years, wouldn't it? And also, there's one last bit, and yeah, this is really, really nitpicky, but there's like an unnecessary cheesecake shot in this, where we're visiting the Guardians of the Globe in their home lives. We visit War Woman and her partner. You know, War Woman is meant to be Wonder Woman, so you do a lesbian joke, and it sort of exists for the sole point of doing, ooh, sexy lesbians. Like, War Woman wakes up and she's, you know, nude, and then she puts on a t-shirt, and then her partner's just in her underwear. That's just like, you could have done this fully clothed. You didn't need to do anything like that. I mean, a small moment, it really doesn't make any sense to be in there like that. Yeah, and like I said, I know that's a little stupid, but it's just my problem with it. Anyway, like I said, this isn't bad. It's very enjoyable, but can't really recommend this as a jumping on point. And really, most Invincible volumes now are available in these big compendiums that include like 2 or 3 story arcs, which definitely helps a lot better if you want to jump into the series. But if you're starting at volume 2, I don't know if that's such a good idea right off the bat. So I am going to give Invincible volume 2, 8 is enough, a B. And with that, let's see what we're doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions. There, you can request a trade to be put in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box. Also, remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Hey guys, one last note here. Yes, I am aware that the Moon Knight series on Disney Plus does premiere on March 30th. However, that's my pre-WrestleMania week, and I'm kind of more focused on building up for that, so I won't be able to review it. Instead, I'll be reviewing the first 2 episodes of Moon Knight in the first week of April, okay? Okay.